What I want you to recognize is that I have no issue being myself, right? And I'll cut that off and we'll come back in a moment, right? My invitation to you is that we take a look at who are you, really, okay? Who are you, free from what the mind says you are. And in that space, you don't try to get up the hill and flow. You'll be up the hill, challenging, hard times. They'll be down the hill. Who's not been down on their knees? Anyone here not been down on your knees at a toilet saying, please God, I'm so sorry? Vomiting your brains out? Right? Let alone some other lows I'll tell you about in my lowest of low in a moment. But if that's how life is going to go, your relationship to that experience is your choice. When you realize you can enjoy every part of the ride of life, you'll stop hiding from the shadow and the emotions that are running you into negative bullshit patterns. You'll become so aware of them that you just won't touch them. You don't got to negate them. It's none but ourselves can free our mind. Big difference, right? Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourself can free the mind. He didn't say the mind can free the mind. Why? The mind freeing the mind is the negative thoughts. Remember we were talking about yesterday. He said 65,000 thoughts. I'd say studies that I've looked at 50 to 150,000 thoughts a day. So let's say you have 100,000 thoughts a day. Studies show that 70-80% of those thoughts are negative thoughts. 90 to 98% of those thoughts are regurgitated from the past. If your attention is right away with thought as who you are, then you're going to operate through the matrix of past, same old loops, conditioning. Yes, seated down in places of fear and things that happen and trauma in your past and all this other stuff. You don't need 30 years of psychology to cure that. You don't need meditation to be that, actually. It's nice to meditate. It's a new expression. It can calm everything down, right? But just to get clear, yoga was made to get the body ready for meditation. Now, yoga has amazing benefits. Can fix, these guys would diagnose moves to fix people's bodies, right? People like illness end because of yoga, right? It aligns chakras, opens you, it feels good, health, it's, right? It wasn't just an exercise, so much more, right? You could say it's a science. But yet still, that was to get the body ready for meditation. Meditation was to get the body ready for enlightenment. And how many people through history have been meditating but not being enlightened? Fucking almost all of them. What I'm saying is anything that you're trying to do to get to a there will always be unsatisfactory. But the mind always has to do first. When your tension's with your thoughts, you are always in a do, have, be paradigm. You have to do something to have something to be something. Right? You have to do something to have something to be something. So if you do the right thing, you have the right relationship, you'll be loved. If you do the right thing, you have the right job, you'll be successful. If you do the right thing, if it's spiritual, do the right meditation, the right this, the right that, you'll be more what? Check it out. Whatever's at the do, have, be, it's some kind of accomplishment, which are great. I'm not proving that. It's awesome, right? The sense of accomplishment, when you accomplish something, you reach something. But how long does that feeling of fulfillment stay? How long, anybody? How long does, think about something you accomplish in your life. A goal you set, you hit your number in the business, right?
Like a day or two, maybe no more than a couple days.
Couple days, right? And then boom, right? Do, have, be. Which is okay. Then you'd be like, okay, but if I'm winning and I'm going, then I'm going. But who wants to keep going with the whip? The whip of mental slavery. The whip of the survival paradigm. That's reality. That it's this linear thing and it's in the future and I'm getting to. All from the past. But that's just all in the fucking mind. All of it. Where is the future but right now in thoughts? Can you find it somewhere else? And when it does come, the future, where will it be? You'll meet it when? When will you receive that moment? In the moment. So you're actually already here. In a spiritual sense, you're actually already awake. You're just not with your own individual core attention. Like when you're driving a car, where's your core attention when you're driving a car? I'm going to say there's core attention and peripheral attention, okay? And this is true in life, so let's just look at it as a basic way. Driving a car, where's your core attention? On the road, between the lines. What else? You're always checking the what? Speedometer. Yeah, you got an eye on the speedometer, and there's really that defensive side of you too, right? Kind of, right? Right. The safety of the car, like driving, right? Yeah, because we can go over the speed limit. We may break the speed limit, so we're not so concerned as that as much as it's, right, the safety, right? So take that and apply that to your life. The ego body mind is always avoiding the unknown, always trying to maintain that me story in your head. And as long as your attention's stuck in that, well, then you got to bat away 70 to 80% of, let's say, 100,000 thoughts, right? So 70 to 80,000 thoughts a day. You're going to mind shift those motherfuckers to a positive thought? How long do you think you're going to enjoy doing that shit? That's the mind. He didn't say the mind can free the mind, right? That's the ocean, the waves. You ever been in the chaos of the top of, like, waves are hitting hard? Let's ask somebody this yesterday. I forget who it was. I think it was you. Right? The waves are crashing hard. They're big. Getting hit by them. What do you do then? He said you could jump over it, but you can get smacked down. But what's the simplest way to no longer be in the chaos of all those waves? Go under. Go under. There's already a stillness at the depth of the ocean, which is already okay. And okay sounds like a small word. It's not. It's all we want the most, all of us, is to full out know that we are okay. As if like the garden's really here, we're already held, we're already good, and we can finally just be ourselves. And it would somehow work for everyone too. But it can't work for everyone else until it works for you. You get that? Connie said, be the change. Yeah. Right? And so when I would speak in 2002, it'd be like pockets of, like, you know, these old hippie seekers and, you know, the random young person from here, bartender from Texas, just kind of hearing the smell of what real freedom could be. And when I mean real freedom, I'm not talking about any dogmatic teaching. Or really, I mean, I can teach you a lot in mindset and other stuff that's applicable, right? But the ultimate thing I share is how to access yourself and get really clear on who you are before a thought, before a label. So we have a little game we're going to play, all right, to start this off. What we're going to be taking a look at here is how there is what the labeling mind has to say about life. And then there's life itself. Let's find out who you are, what labels you are, okay? Because we can talk, but we can also, I'm way more about direct experience. Right? What's his name was saying yesterday? To be immersive, like immersive experience, right? So what we really want to take a look at is what is your direct experience in life? When you become aware of your direct experience before the labels of your mind, and even how it feels, sometimes you feel like shit, but that's where you're meant to be. But the mind's got other things to say about that, and so does the resistance in the body, triggered by shit, right? But that edge is where we're being run. So emotional intelligence isn't conquering your fear. That's old paradigm. No pain, no gain. Doesn't mean you can't hit that point, right? Like in the ice tub here, where you hit an edge in yourself, where you're either going to surrender, right? Go through, persevere, or not. So there's that line. The more in tune you get, that line is the infinite intersecting with you being human. The infinite intersecting with the finite. The more you be you, the more you realize the purpose of your life is you now. You are the icon of you. No fucking joke. Why do you think it is that anyone can spend money right now and build a brand on social media and be themselves in a way? Because everyone's bleeding for that possibility. But guess who already has that? You. You're already gifted to be you. How often do you recognize the gift of your own existence? For real. How often do you literally just not just thank God, life, that you exist, and just even notice that? How often?
Monday through Friday.
Was that?
At least Monday through Friday.
Yeah, okay. So 5 days a week?
At least.
Great.
That's for pretty much everybody here.
Because you do it together. Okay, great. So what happens if you live in alignment with that? And instead of trying to practice gratitude, you start to recognize that life is actually being given to you. That this moment literally is being given to you. I'm not talking about trying to be in the moment. This is quite a distinction, okay? This is a distinction for experts, but all of you are going to understand me mostly, and if you don't, question what the heck I'm saying, okay? Better that way, right? But I'm not coming from a place of knowing something I don't think you know. I'm more pointing to you to the knower within you that knows it also. You follow that? Okay. I'm not trying to show you what I think is the way for you, because the way for you is the way for you. Just as like I'm go deeper and deeper into Judaism. And people go through my program who are Muslims, right? People go through them who are Christians, Catholics, atheists, non-believers, believers, right? Spiritual or not. People go through it who are suffering from deep depression, suicidal tendencies, OCD, PTSD. And now people like Bradley and others are going through that at an entrepreneurial level, where there's some glass ceiling in some place in their life that they know there's the next, right? There's something. So what's the same for all those people? The spiritual seeker, the person with the deep mental dis-ease going on, and the entrepreneur, the entrepreneurial spirit. They all want to get out of their own way. They all know there is another way. We were just talking about, 5-MeO-DMT. So let's go there for a minute. Why is it that someone like Mike Tyson and Tony Robbins would take that? Surely they're successful enough, they're conscious enough, Tony Robbins probably operates like the best machine in the world, perhaps. Thank God, big influence on my life. But what's the difference between you and them? You. Your unique DNA. Is there anyone else that can be you? So what happens when we start to recognize the gift of that moment to moment? Then life's solved. That you really get that it's literally the gift is being you. And so the more in tune you can get with that, the more you can become conscious of the programming of the idea of who you think you are. Because the news is, that's great, you're not your thoughts. You have thoughts, but you're not your thoughts. And if you've heard that, and you already go like, yeah, I agree with that, but notice the thinking about it, and notice the difference of recognizing, what if you don't believe your thoughts at all right now? But the practice is, up to this point, is try to change your thoughts, quiet the mind, get rid of thoughts. But 100 years ago, people didn't experience the amount of information that goes through your mind in a day, in a lifetime. 43 gigabytes of information goes through the mind stream in a day. Fucking think about that. Think about that. Haha. So which thoughts are you? Which labels are you? What are you believing yourself to be based on something of the past? So we're here to expand awareness. And we're going to do some things to kind of jar, not just saying, okay, here's a new paradigm, see it this way, and I will give you that too. Since we're in a short time together, I'm going to give you some mindset tools that are going to allow you to shift in any moment in life to recognizing it's all happening for you, not against you. Even as a mindset. You can walk out of here that as a mindset where you're going to start to consider 3 things, okay? So take these 3 things down, and then we'll get to labeling in a minute. So what's the last thing I was talking about? Literally, so I can go back to it. I said 3 things were what? Tools for what?
Shift your mindset.
Okay, great. Thank you. Because I always like to go really deep, but I actually want to start taking it inward as I'm talking to entrepreneurs. Why? Because you are having all this mindset training. So I'm not saying delete that stuff. I want you to get that. Everything's stepping stones and everything's useful in its right spot. But as long as you're hinged on thinking you got to do something to be free, and I mean anything, to be free, to actually be optimal yourself, is a delusion of the do, have, be paradigm, because being is actually first. So in the mindset, if it's all happening for you, not against you, if it's all happening for you, not against you, 3 things to recognize, to become aware of. You don't need to change them. When I share with you to be aware of something, I'm not saying that this is a pattern that you need to see and now you're going to reconfigure that pattern, which is often in self-development stuff, which is useful in neurolinguistic programming and other things, right? But that's not what I'm pointing to. I'm pointing to you letting yourself become aware of something that's occurring. Because if you don't believe your thoughts, and now you're aware of them, it can just come and go like a cloud, can't it? You have to tune into those radio stations. So the example I'd like to give is when you have some kids talking and they're having a ridiculous conversation. The Pope's coming over with the reindeer and who knows what. And they're bothering you, you're working, and you can tell them that's not true. You can get into it then. You could ignore them. Tell them get out of here. You just not believe it. You just not, right? You ever been in a restaurant where you're like sitting down and you're tuning into someone's conversation behind you? Have you ever done that? Anyone guilty of that? You listened in on other people? You eavesdropped in? Did you ever get to the part where it gets kind of personal and you're like, whoa, this isn't, I shouldn't be doing this? So you have the ability to kind of like, all of a sudden it's like Charlie Brown back there. You don't know, you're not listening in anymore. I'm telling you, when you know yourself, and no one else can tell you who yourself is, which is why people of all those walks of life can recognize what you can recognize today. But then living from that takes training out of the mind, training out of the conditioning. But it's easier than trying to change all the conditioning. Deleting files, letting the files go, seeing them for what they are. You know, there's a tribe that used to do a rain dance. So every time the eclipse would come, it was, oh my God, the darkness is coming before us. The evil, the darkness. They freaked out. So they made up a dance for it. Eclipses don't happen often, but when they did, everyone was prepared. What do you think they did the minute that eclipse started? What would you do? You were trained to do what? Dance. Trained to dance. The tribe dances, and the eclipse goes away again. They celebrate life and God, right? And then again and again. So one day this elder is up on this like mountaintop, and he's away from the tribe, and he's like, eclipse is starting. He's like, shit, what if I don't dance? You know, what he saw, we're talking about perspectives being different. What he saw is that the eclipse still comes and goes. So every emotion that you don't like about yourself, if it's not what you think it is, then you'll be able to be responsible enough to actually get present to that emotion in a way that you've never known emotion before. That's emotional intelligence, not overpowering your fear, not overpowering your anger, controlling it. It's the same battle, right? Same ocean battle. So the three things. All right, so, okay, becoming aware of what is this resistance to what is. That's what we're looking at now. What is the resistance to what is? What am I believing about what is? What preferences? What likes and dislikes? What past choosing for you of life is determining your experience of what is? Because this moment, does anyone disagree that this moment is as it is? At the moment, exactly. Is it any other way? No. So at this moment, the convergence of this moment, all of existence, the totality, whether you call that God, life, the infinite, whatever it is, like a butterfly flaps its wings, it affects every dimension. They say in Kabbalah, but scientists show us a butterfly flaps its wings affects the weather. That's how significant you are. You're connected to all of it. And the only thing you gotta do is actually be you. But the old paradigm is that we believe we are that separate thing. So that's like being in a book and being so stuck on what the next word is, let alone the next paragraph, let alone the next page, let alone the next chapter, that you never fucking are even in the book. So it's time to transcend the whole mind and put it in its place. You don't walk around being identified with your heart, on my heart, on my heart, on my heart. Imagine if you had to tell the heart to beat all the time. All the time. That would fucking suck, wouldn't it? If we had to tell the heart to beat all the time, would you die? Oh, fuck, man. And what do you do when you sleep? Can Siri repeat it for you in your voice? Can you record it? I don't know. I don't think so. But maybe. So that would suck. But somehow we walk around believing we are what we think. But it's the greatest relief to understand that your mind would try to think about what I'm saying even and figure that out. But it's not in the realm of figuring out that you can let go of your mind. It's in starting to be aware of what mind is. All right, so we're going to talk about the operating system of the mind. Oh, so go back to the 3. See, by the way, in sales, I'm noticing that naturally the way I flow, like I keep having this thing that we come back to that like they want to know about. All right, you know, which leads me into the next conversation, but right back. So it's like, well, it's like a teaser. Fucking love it. And by the way, I was always the top salesperson wherever I worked, right? I worked in the restaurant industry for a long time. I was always offered GM jobs, but I was up to film and other stuff, and I was always like, fuck that. I fucking kill it as a server, you know, make $150K a year, and the rest of the time I do what I want to do. And then if you're a GM, I'm going to work 80 hours a week and make less money, and you guys are going to treat me like a shit dog because I've saw it for years, right? You've been in that business, you know that business. It's the craziest backwards thing in the restaurant industry. Managers should get paid more than we're part of, like you guys have team leaders. Imagine that, right? Like happy managers, right? like such a novel idea. It's pretty simple, take care of people, right? So that's what you have here. You have a group of people who are taking care of themselves, and because of that, they can't help but to give. So that's about being in this receiving frequency, and that's the last thing we're going to train in today, okay? So we're going to look at labeling. We're going to look at the ideas of who you think you are and see if are those true, right? And I'm not going to teach you something to believe. You believe whatever's true to you. You do you so full out. So when I work with someone, if they're a Muslim, they become a better Muslim, better Jew, better Catholic, better non-religious person. But all of a sudden, instead of I'm non-religious, like a acceptance and compassion for others who are, if that's not the way they see it. Because the division, right? The whole world right now, guys, right? You've seen it, just so, everything's division. Because that supposed tension is just a distraction for consumerism. Making it easy on some who already figured it out their way. But here's a group of people figuring out another way. And here's the interesting thing, and I work with both of these guys. So more and more, this is true. They're not relying more and more on the figuring out mind for what's next, but on the clarity and the yes. Would you say you're living like that? How much more, what % more would you say you're living like that, Sean, in the last year?
Oh man, it's like, I mean, I'm trying, I'm more and more, I think, like the trusting part of it, and just really, because every once in a while your mind's like, I don't know, you know, but 70%, I'd say, like 65, 70% of my time.
Yeah.
I like live from that. At least. I get caught up in my mind sometimes, but.
Yeah, but that's not, but here's the thing. Is that a problem?
No.
See? Because he knows that getting caught and not caught comes and goes too. So there's a knowing of this connectivity. Does that ever go away anymore? Just that's reality. So then all of a sudden anything can come and go in that. So at some point thoughts can come and go like that. And I promise you people, it's the best fucking thing. To not to believe your mind. So emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourself can free our mind. What's that self? Without theories about it, you will walk away today, you know, noticing what that is within yourself. The depth of the ocean, the center of the storm is what already? Yeah, already calm, already still. That doesn't mean the way you act. Like I was saying in the beginning, I used to teach, right, more like that. Zen, peace, those are ideas of what that looks like. Being is the gift, but being's not vegging out. Being is active. Being yourself, really, without any inhibition. If it's ego-driven, it's just like, what? Right? But when it's actually got some like depth to it and integrity and identity beyond just a me identity, so instead of egocentric, it becomes cosmic-centric. At least world-centric. Family-centric, right? World-centric. Cosmic-centric. I'm in the game for what's giving me life back. You dare to be yourself. So after awakening to that you are free in being and you do go transcend mind will still come and go. But any fear or limitation is literally a construct of a paradigm, a concept, a pattern that holds you in a false reality called a limitation. So the most important thing you can do is self-recognize this self. that is awareness itself. In the Old Testament way is I am that I am. You are. And as you start to let your attention notice that, the mind will be like, so fucking what? Because the mind doesn't want to actually be. You'd rather worry about it, wouldn't it? Rather survive, figure it out, create problems, solve them, label it, dissect it, put it in a compartment, spit back out the next chapter to you. Now you're this more evolved or better person, whatever it is, the new story. That's the mental slavery. Do you think it's possible to be free of that?
Yes.
Who thinks it's possible? Yeah?
Yeah.
You? You think so? Maybe? Skeptical?
Maybe. Yes.
Yeah? You think?
Yes,
Yeah?
I've not reached it.
Yeah. Is that possible? Yeah. But it's all about honesty here. No one's got to believe. Never take anything I say and believe it. Put it that way. Right? I'm pointing all the time to something.
Anything's possible.
Yeah, definitely.
Sounds like philosophy, no? Anything is possible.
All right. Okay, so the three things, okay? Right? The three things to become aware of. That at least on the mindset level. By the way, I'm sugar giving you this. Like I do this in Clubhouse. What I mean by sugar doing this is the mindset way of living it will be great. It will change so much. Okay? But the real level of living this, the real level of receiving life, of being in a receiving frequency, that's a gratitude frequency. Because your body already enjoys receiving breath. You get gratitude built in right there. But our attention's all over the place. But our attention had to believe we were our mind. Anyone who's got kids, you know, when they go, mine, like we had to build up an identity. We had to have these pains to hurt, to construct our character. Our weaknesses and our strengths are like tied together, aren't they? So what if, and this is the part of something that I thought would come through about like your potential. But what if living your potential is actually being you, and it always has been? What if you fully got off judging yourself altogether? No. I'm actually saying that you should learn, see what's really trustworthy. Right? Thoughts come and go.
Right.
So is a thought trustworthy if it comes and it goes? If it's temporary, like it won't stay. New ones are going to come. So is it trustworthy if it's temporary?
No.
Okay. Emotions, right? Remember, and we're going to talk about emotional intelligence too. That's part of like being a human
Right.
and the embodiment of consciousness. But where's consciousness? Can you find consciousness? No, it's everything. But we're connected to that. We are that. We are nature. So the moment you've had on nature, everything was like, let's do this as an exercise, all right? Everyone close your eyes, if you will. This is not like an accessing technique. There's accessing techniques where you start to shift with your eyes open in daily life. It takes less than 10 seconds. No one knows you're doing it. You don't run off and put a candle on, okay? Right? If we're going to use the word meditation or mindfulness and all, it's going to be called beyond meditation, beyond mindfulness. All right? Because you know what mindfulness is? It's great. It's a stepping stone. I'm not saying poo-pooing it, but mindfulness is just watching your thoughts. So it's great because now you're starting to lose being stuck in them. The more you're present and mindful, even like when you're aware of the words coming out of your mouth, like Tony Robbins is saying, right? Right? You're becoming more conscious, and you're actually more like architecting, right? You're more present with it. But that's always going to continue and go on. That mind, that me, that story will always keep going. So when you finally stop thinking that any of that needs to be fixed and changed, because I don't know about you, but I think the mind's creating the perception of reality pretty fucking awesome if you're in creation and everything is actually already okay. Like if it's already all written, said, and done. And I don't mean written in some future. I mean moment to moment unfolding with the obvious movement is towards what? Evolving, isn't it? Isn't that the obvious movement? To evolve?
Yeah.
To be truly fulfilled?
Yeah.
And do you want it just for yourself? Does anyone here just want your fulfillment and fuck everybody else? No, they don't even go hand in hand. Right? So when it comes to me, the opportunity that you guys have, that's why I was here this whole weekend. Not this whole weekend, but a lot of this, right? Because, God, you guys should see what you got, you know? I hope you guys realize what you got. Like, you guys are just such great people here and how you are to each other. But you have two people that are like setting this vibe because they're being themselves, right? There's no mistake that they both have worked with me. And Sean was like, Lance, you got to do that. And Lance, right? And, you know, in six axis points, has already had major shifts in his life, right? Sean shifted free from believing his mind. So he can go in it, but 70% of the time, it doesn't even touch him. And if it comes and goes, he's aware of that. So when you go beyond 51%, where we train you, where your core, right? Remember the driving? Core focus is on safety, right? So if core focus of attention, where's your attention? If you look at my shirt and see what color it is. Was it hard for anyone to move their attention just now? It's pretty effortless, right? So now I'm postulating to you that your attention, for most of you, 90-some% of the time, is boop, mind, immediately. So everyone's an addict to that me. So then we think we got to do all this stuff to like get to freedom. So that's what the meditation, all that stuff is about. Just another genre. You seek the Ferrari, get success. Does that mean you're fulfilled?
No.
We've seen it over and over again with celebrities, right? They have everything, killing themselves, going in and out of clinics. It was great what you were talking about earlier, like you're setting out that goal as a number, but it's not just a number. Like what's the point? Like I love how you guys, like if I was going to touch on this topic, it was going to come out. It's not as much as like for me, I guess, and I didn't really speculate it yet because I knew it kind of come out. But like, yeah, you have to have your why. Everyone who's heard that? You have to know your why. Yeah, and that's a big Tony Robbins thing. That's a big life coach thing. That's a big, I mean, I don't think there's anybody out there right now that leads that probably hasn't done a video like that at least once, right? So, you know, and what I found amazing at the Brad Lee weekend I was just at, you know, so many people there had hit a point of money where they like got that all this doesn't mean shit and they want to serve, right? It took that to get to that through their hells and their ups and downs. Most people there, I'll say, go in on yourself, believe in yourself. But here's the thing. No one there, except for Brad, offering one little framework of forgiving yourself and gratitude in the morning, was able to show people how to love yourself fully. And not just love yourself, yeah, I love my shit. That's a conversation. I'm talking about like be in, right? If you have a loved one or you ever looked a child in the eyes, especially if it was your own, especially if it's the first time, in that moment, the mother, the person you're not trying to love them. Are you like telling yourself you should love them? There's an innate love there, isn't there then? It's just there. So when you recognize that you can self-accept yourself in that level, you'll get off all the stupid shit and you'll get on the good shit. Because it's obvious. Because there's a you that already has that bigger vision. There's an even deeper you that'd be willing to like sacrifice that vision, like John said, for a smaller house, but something else. Because who's setting the narrative in your brain and mind of where success is anyways to you? Yeah, when you're ready to paint that picture, you know? But to paint that picture from the identified doer that's in survival paradigm still, so you get 20 years down the road and you use Tony Robbins or law of attraction or whatever it is to fucking get everything you want in life. And then you never met this void within yourself. You know that sense that like something's off, something's not quite right? If we look back when we're young, there's this void, okay? Usually through childhood, you can look back some moments where you felt like something's off, something's not quite right about myself, my family, the world. In those moments, did anyone come to you and say, let's go in there, let's go into that fear? Just cover it right up. Whatever it would be. It could be religion, could be societal, be happy, don't cry, be strong, but always the opposite of whatever you are, because there's always this narrative of what's the relationship we all have in society as to emotions? These are the bad ones, these are the good ones. Chase the good emotion, junkie hit, run away from this. How can you be whole if you can't experience all your emotions? It's like having honey jammed down your throat your entire life and never tasting salt. Now, who wants to get stuck in the salt bath the rest of your life, shoving down your nose and your throat? Not I. This could be rated R, what I'm going to say, so forgive this, but it's going to be a little rated R. All right, so something I was just reading in the Talmud, which is this book of wisdom, okay? Of like these like enlightened scholarly kind of guys. And there was this, I don't know if you guys know any Old Testament, but there's this guy who had like almost like vision and powers of prophecy like Moses, but he only just wanted to do bad, right? So he was going to go curse the Jewish people because he was told he's going to get paid for it. And the donkey stops telling him you can't do that. So that guy dies. So this guy, this Roman soldier is thinking about maybe I'm going to convert to Judaism. Makes no sense. It's against everything that makes sense to him, and he's going to do that. So he has this black magic abilities, I guess, whatever it is, right? Not like, right? So he summons these different people. I'm just going to tell you one of them. It's really gross. So this guy says, well, first of all, should I go with them or not? He said, go against them. But also go against them. See, that example, by the way, of what light is that you are the light. You are the light. We're all the light. So he summons this guy, and he says, and where are you after your life of sin, right? Or whatever, right? Where are you? And he's in boiling semen. It says this in the Torah. Swear to God.
I hadn't read that part.
Unbelievable. Okay. But I mean, like, talk about a visual. Eternal, burning semen. Who has been in such a dark place within yourself that maybe that would be equally bad? I mean, let's take away the eternity. Take away the eternity. Right, so we've all had a hell within ourselves. Is there anyone here who hasn't had a hell in themselves? Have you been through things that were hellish to you? Or was it all just sweet? No. Yeah. So what's the resonant of that? What's the resonant effect of that? So the story of you. Growth and based on pain, right? So evolution, right? Yeah. Great, exactly, right? Avoiding the unknown to maintain me. It's the first root pattern of the operating system of the mind. As if, so we're going to do two things. We're going to do two back to back, okay? Because we're going to have you close your eyes. We're going to go back to that, and we still got the three answers coming, I promise. Okay, so these are going to be two visualizations we're going to do back to back, and then we're going to re-enter the conversation of the void, okay? All right? First, I want to go back to, if oneness is real, if it's all like connected and like God's all, okay? And you may not call that God. You may call that spirit, life, consciousness, unless you literally think it's all about you. But even if you die, where do you go? If you say you go nowhere, okay, but where's that? It's always still in it. You can't get the fuck out of it. There's no escape. You're in life. Life is the whole point. So when you get that reality, guys, welcome. It's so nice to meet you. What won't we do together? Right? Was the third level of what you were showing, right, Sean? The we. What won't we do together? All right? So you have the synergy of that already here in an industry which people are going to need because things are changing, right? Something that's positive, helpful. So when I always sold the most, it was because I knew what I chose to sell to people. I thought it was the fucking best. I used to be a server at Prime 112. Anyone know what Prime 112 is? In Miami? So it's the top 5 busiest restaurant in the world, where every celebrity, ball player, the Heat come in, all right? My first few months there, got used to the place. He hired me in. He used really hard to get in there. Job was working before closed SDK, the one they wanted me to manage, right? Guys like, okay, we'll see. I have my sales history and SDKs, restaurants for, steakhouses for almost 30 years. So a couple months in, I broke every single record there. Most Kobe beef sold. Hit the Dolphins for $37,000, right? Because I was having fun waiting tables, right? And I had my Hollywood dream. I made a movie, 1996, 27 years old. Went to go be an actor, had businesses going at universities, because if I'm left college, I'm Jewish, I'm supposed to be a fucking millionaire, I better be a millionaire by the time I'm 25, go, work out, everything. All that shit to prove myself to who? To someone else's narrative. But yet it refined me, right? If you didn't sharpen yourself, life sure sharpened you. But now it's time to let go of what you think is you and start to sense into yourself. Start to have such a depth of trust in yourself. But there has to be a discernment. So I could say that to you and you'd be like, okay, but if you're still identified with the mind, which is why it's a technology, by the way, which is why accessing is a technology, right? It's based on self-inquiry, but it's a technology the way we got it down. You'll go back to mind identity immediately if you're over 50% more of your attention's through thought, through how you're feeling, thinking, and the reaction to the circumstances, right? Right? Most people don't realize they have a choice on their relationship to the circumstances, to others, and to themselves. And when we do simple G in the receiving part, you'll start to see why in sales and why what you're already doing, if you know you're bringing something good and you're really there because you're walking down the street and you like the fucking neighborhood and you're breathing air because you exist and you're yourself and you have the song on that you like beforehand. Yeah, you could rev yourself up, or you could just be yourself and go knock on the fucking door and talk to somebody. Literally. If you're actually not there just to serve you. And of course, you'll get served, the company will get served, they'll get served. That's the win-win that he was talking about. So what's the easiest path to all this shit? It's not another 1,000 books, guys. Information is not transformation. Yes, great trainings. I'm not poo-pooing Tony Robbins' thing. Although the first story, if we can see, I'm going backwards. I would have started here, right? The first story, we won't do the first story. We'll do the two visuals, okay? This is why this would become a workshop that would get worked out later. When I go teach, if anything, an outline of ideas come through, and that's really, I was forced to make my course for Brad in a linear way, But I did just by doing bullet points. They almost wanted me to write. I'm like, I can't. I'm not doing that. So, But what I want you to understand about where I am in reality, this isn't to make me great because whatever, right? I stopped believing my mind in 2002. When I walked over hot coals at 18, because that was 2002. That was 1987. In 1987, when I went to Tony Robbins and walked over hot coals, it blew my mind. I walked over several times. I was so high. My skeptical brother's like, yeah, so what? He did it, so what, so what? And all weekend we're doing these things about rapport. If you sit the same way, the person will say the same emotion and word, and we're all connected. Just mind-blowing shit, right? Which is great to master. Why not? But my mind started going into just seeing it all. Looking back, that was what I would call an awakening to your reality of who you are, to that self. No one there knew how to deal with that. Mind, you ever have thoughts, believe things? You ever been stoned and believe shit is phenomenal, and then later on you recognize it's not? Anyone? You're the best fucking idea in the world, and then after you're like,
You just lost it.
or it was just the dumbest it was the dumbest idea.
No, there were some good ideas.
There's good ones too.
You lost them.
But there you go right there, right? Ideas are dime a dozen. You hear that all the time, right?
Right.
Okay, so the visual, all right? What do you want, the visual first? All right, this will be a multiple choice workshop. Do you want the visuals first, or do you want to know the three things to be aware of so you start living in the mindset reality that it's all happening for you, not against you?
The visuals, because you have to hold up the three things.
For so long.
Right, but in a good sales video, that probably would be at the end. I agree. We'll edit it that way. Oh my God. So Brad Lee, he posts on Instagram, right? And I found my you want to say intuition, but here's what I got to say to you, okay? Now we're going to jump back, guys. Ready? Over here. All right, over here, and I would have drawn this if I had a board. I don't want to do the whole iPad down click thing, right? But if I had a board, I would draw a storm here, right? Right? Fucking hurricane, chaos in the outside. Where's your attention most of the time? In the fucking storm. So it's literally as simple as shifting to the center. So often in your life, so clearly that it cuts through your mind, grabbing back on, which we'll always try to do, so that you start to just really see the mind. So when you start to see what is the mind and how does it keep my attention stuck in it, you become aware of how mind operates. Then mind becomes, instead of the cell phone on your fucking head, you use it like we are right now to communicate, but it stops using you. Would you like that? Anybody here would like that your mind doesn't run you at all? That your emotions don't run you at all? Would that be a good reality? All right, I do it in 8 weeks with pretty much 90 or like 98% of anyone goes through that program. I would say full blown, like what I'm talking about, right? As long as they keep actually serving self.
There's some definitely.
You've seen some people graduate in the time you're done. Anyways, okay, so three things came up. We'll go 3 things now in the workshop, okay? So here are the 3 things, okay? So this is, remember, so now that we've journeyed into these places, so no, I'm gonna go back to the storm first, okay? So storm, chaos, right? Remember, 100,000 thoughts, right? Science is saying 98% of that thoughts. When I have a little cartoony guy, it'll be like, you know, the storm, right? And then it'll be like little blobs of what those thoughts are. What's the matter with me? Fuck this, I hate that, whatever, all these fucking thoughts, right? 100,000 thoughts a day. 70-80% of them are negating thoughts. They say negative, let's just say negating. You get what I mean by negating? Like they're against, like they're anti-you almost. They're critic of you, they're judging, they're troubleshooting, they're figuring out, right? It's a problem. It's got to be solved. Some kind of war that wants the other part of you to have to grip onto, right? In that storm. 90 to 98%, that's the crazy fucking part. 90 to 98% for most people is regurgitated, not new thoughts. What happens, and this is where I think the bulldozer would just come like take away all the negative ones and the past ones, okay? So in the center of the storm, we have what? We have stillness, clarity, calm, okay? That spot's in you. We're gonna recognize it together today, like I said, okay? That spot's in you. But what about the thoughts that are left? If you're not believing, it's not about the bulldozer. The bulldozer's not perfect yet, because the bulldozer's still like getting rid of them. It's not about getting rid of them like I told you about earlier, right? It's about not having to tune into them, right? They can just be there like a fucking cloud. And when you're believing them, maybe you feel a little down. And then you can get present to feeling that way, not believe shit about it. Like, what's the matter with me? Oh my God, I'm sad again. A depressed person's like, oh my God, I'm gonna get depressed again. And then they fucking spiral right down. Because they get more unworthy and then more want to escape. But when you don't believe what the mind's meaning about emotion, follow this, but I can't train you in this now, right? If you don't believe the mind's meaning about an emotion, then you can actually be with that emotion. That's emotional intelligence. That's emotional intelligence, when you can actually be with the salt and the honey. Guess what happens if you had that honey your whole life, and you taste the salt, and then you go back and taste the honey? Honey just got better, didn't it? Okay. You ever watch a movie and the sad parts are great too? Scary parts are great too. The angry parts are great too. You get off your out and back and let yourself be yourself. Then from that place of awareness, you'll choose the next level of you, or you'll step like, you'll shed that, right? And step into the gift of you being you again. And you'll realize as you continue to notice that center, that it's like you get to be you. Okay, so let's go back to, I'm gonna finish the storm part, okay? Then we're gonna go to the 3 things, okay? All right? So 98% regurgitated too. Like, the same like grooves on the record that will get caught. Same, take a look at this. What emotion, here, write this down for yourself. What emotion is the emotion you least like? Literally, what's the emotion that you least like to feel? Regret? Regret? And what does regret feel like when you're feeling regretful? Yeah, so a weakness and shame, I would say, right? Disappointment, failure, right? Yeah. So over that void, there's 3 main emotions that run all of us. And of course, what Lance is saying is that it goes back to everything that's ever been said to you about who you are. I celebrated my son when he said back his name. I didn't say, that's not who you are. You're not a name. You're Noah. He had to grab on. It's time to let go. It's time to fucking trust yourself so fucking much. That means literally when you're out there, if you're already all in, and why not be all in, right? I mean, everyone gets that. Why not be all in? But if you're all in, like, whether Sean said, we'll support you for the day, we support you for longer. But if you're all in, then being all in that day. If you're all in even more, go long in. Because they're going to do nothing but grow right now, right? And you guys are already good at what you do. So now it's like sharpen you. To me, you probably already have a lot of skill set in how to sell. Who here is like very refined in sales? Pretty good at sales, right? So you can always get better and grow at that, right? So that's on a mindset level. That's where the habitual, or like the shifting of the way that we are, our character, right? Not only our character is more our integrity, our backbone, right? But the personality, the persona, right? You stop being run by certain things, you get to be yourself. So at the edge of this fear is fear of anger, and a fear of unworthiness. Unworthiness could be shame. When you can fall over the edge into the shame of yourself and be so vulnerable that you can be with it, again, you can't just do that. Like, you have to stop believing your mind to be able to actually even fucking come close to meeting an emotion. If not, there's always the buffer of what you're thinking about it or what the body's resistance is to it. So I would venture, it's crazy, I'm sorry to say, but most of you, majority of you, have almost never felt an emotion. And of course, you felt them deep in. So maybe let's say 80% of the time, you don't feel emotion. You feel it, but there's such deeper place where after a while, it's like you discover, like inside the oyster, there's a pearl in the emotion that you least like. The one that you think you got to fix about yourself, the one that you think you got to change about yourself. Once you stop believing the mind's meaning about it, right? Because we're all here taking a look at what if you didn't believe the mind anymore and you just being you is trustworthy. So then you could actually be at the edge of what? Do you ever know what's going to happen next for sure? Anybody for sure, right? Unless like Minority Report, you ever see that movie, Tom Cruise, where like they have the three people hooked up, and they fucking see everything that happens ahead of time and shit. Unless you're like the best psych in the world or you're a precog. If we tell the real truth, we never know what's going to happen next in the world. Didn't we just see that with Corona? Like, the whole world didn't know what the fuck was going to happen next. What happened to suicide? Went up 200%. Anxiety went through the roof. 83% of Americans say they deal with stress and anxiety. Sean, what happens? Where do your panic attacks go?
I don't know where they went, but they're gone.
Because what happens? Why? So why in 8 weeks can someone end deep depression, OCD, PTSD, and why can you take the roof off of your limitation? Is because when they stop believing the thoughts about the emotion, they stop fighting the emotion, no more sadness, no more panic attack. Freedom. Isn't that what this fucking thing's about? Isn't it the point? To be able to go all in and be you, full out, the icon of you. But the one that obviously, if it's all in on that you, it's got to be all in on everybody. That's the we again. So that's back to the conversation. If you have this team here in leadership that gives a shit about evolving, which means like whatever your best last potential was, it's not about seeking, like you were saying earlier, it's not about seeking the happiness, right? If you're seeking that goal and that's going to be a place of fulfillment, will you be fulfilled? We talked about it already. Will you be fulfilled? Temporarily. And then climb the next and climb the next. And you can say, well, I love the climb. Okay. But not if you can have all that and not fucking climb so fucking hard. Doesn't mean you don't show up. Doesn't mean you're not challenged, right? But you could be enjoying all of it. Couldn't you? You think it's possible to enjoy life no matter what? When I mean enjoy life, I'm not just saying like, someone's dying. But to actually be in joy of existence. How miraculous it is that you are. Thinking about that's one thing, starting to notice that. So I'm gonna ask you a question right now. Do you have to do anything right now to be? Just to exist in this moment? No. Do you have to do anything to be? No. Or, but do you have to do that? No. Just keeps happening, right? Yes. Right? Someone will be like, well, I gotta eat my food, I gotta pay my bill. But that's later, right? But like right now in this moment, right? So that's the mind's answer. Okay? That's the mind's answer. This is a little bit of training in simple B. That's the mind's answer. Now, I'm going to do this first with eyes open. Later on, we'll do it with eyes closed, and then we'll go back to eyes open, okay? I guess this is my gift for you today. I didn't know which access point would be given, but this is the one it looks like. Maybe we'll get two. We'll see. Right?
Is that a team?
Yeah, I don't know. Just being myself, ultimately, if you haven't noticed. So now, okay? So now I'm going to ask you all the exact same question again. Okay? And here's what I want you to do. We're going to go back, okay? So the first time you answer, right? But try to be present if you can for this one, because you won't. This one, if you don't participate, you won't have the experience that I'm pointing to. Because I'm not trying to tell you something. I'm trying to point you to something to notice. Does that make sense? Right? Within yourself, within your own awareness, to notice something. Okay? Maybe something novel, maybe something new, maybe something you've tasted but didn't quite know was right there. Okay? And if right away you're like, ooh, it's not you. I'm not talking, by the way, I'm not talking about gates of heaven open. Ah! I'm not talking about like, ah! Like I'm not talking about like. Okay? They would say like, hey master, what did you do after you were enlightened? He's like, I had some tea. They say before enlightenment chop wood, after enlightenment chop wood. But everything can change, even if nothing changes. I promise it. I'll put my life down on that for you, right? Because that's what I'm here for. So I'm clear on my why, right? So back to the why conversation. If that why is led, right? If that why is led by the 98% storm, past thoughts running your shit, and emotions that are attached to trauma, that like the edge of that unknown, right? Like the edge of that fire. Imagine when man first had fire, first like fire, like, touch it, and then, but I can get close to it, and it saves me. I can live next to it, actually, but it burns me. That was a hard lesson to learn. But who here had to do that one? All right, maybe you had touched something once when your parents told you not to, right? But you didn't fucking get burned up, right? Or freeze to death because you didn't recognize the fire would keep you warm. So right now I'm going to ask you this question. Did you have to do anything to be? The first time I want you to answer like you did. Let your mind answer out loud. So everyone answer out loud. Okay? And here's a distinction, we could call it. There's a better word for that. Okay, but a distinction, we'll call it. There will be what your mind has to answer, and that's welcome, okay? Not in accessing, which is my technology. It's not about trying to change that thought. It's not about trying to get rid of what the mind says. Right? It's not about trying to make it quiet. Have any ever experienced a quiet mind? Like meditating? How? Like it just happened or what?
Trying to make it happen.
Trying to make it happen. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Got it.
There's this method that we were all doing today called the WinWin method. And what I used to do when I was like really stressed out, like I was having a hard time or whatever, I would do like 3 different cycles, and after I'd feel like a lot calmer, present in the moment, rather than thinking about whatever was going on really.
Great. Yeah. So, and people have that when they work out, right? It can be like those moments of like Zen. If there's moments out in nature, and we're going to do a visual of that one in a moment, okay? But during the moment of an orgasm, is there a problem? In the moment, right? Now your mind said before the critique of your performance or whatever it was, right? And now what your mind says afterwards, right? Right? So now what your mind says afterwards, that ain't the same. Is what your mind says afterwards, or what she says or he says afterwards, is that the same thing as the direct experience of when it's all perfect? All right, so.
Try to get back to his mindset.
Okay, so you ready? All right, we're going to go there, but we're going to do this visualization first. This is the way it's being constructed. All right, so I want you to close your eyes for a moment. And we're going to use the mind right now, right? This is using the mind. We're going to use the mind to visualize. I want you to remember a time where you were out in nature. And just give me once you have on it, but it's a time out in nature where it was like breathtaking. Like it blew you away. You know that like breathtaking, like, just like, whoa. And I want you to jump into that moment like you're there now. Blow it up in full bright color like a movie. Jump into that you like you're there now. Now recognize that just that initial moment of awe. Is there any problems in that moment? There's like a perfection, isn't there? Like a connectivity. It's like you're there, but not, it's beyond, right? Now, be in it. I don't know if somebody else was there with you or not, Try to stay in it, because if you come out and open your eyes, you lose the experience. So full bright color, jumping into that go into that initial moment like you're there now. And now start talking about it in your head, right now in your head, but as if you're there. Start pointing out what's beautiful about it and what you like about it, and just really get into the mind talking about it. So it's still beautiful, but is it the same experience as that initial awe? So open your eyes. So let's hear some feedback. Who wants to jump in first? Yeah.
I was on top of Bear Mountain. It was my first time.
Great experience.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's kind of like a transcendent experience, right? You can't quite grab it. Did everyone here see? And if you didn't, let's explore that. Like, was talking about it, like even talking about it to yourself, let alone start telling someone, oh, you got to look at this, it's so beautiful. Is that the same experience as the initial?
No, not even close.
But if that moment's in nature, are you nature?
Absolutely.
Okay, so now again, let's take a look. Okay, ready?
Turn it off. I'm kind of popular at this.
And I'm just joking, but I'm giving right now. Bradley thinks I should be charging $50,000 to $100,000 for a private session. And he just paid for me to shoot my program on his platform, teaching what I teach to entrepreneurs, right? What charges other people 50 to 100 grand. He paid for it for me. Because I'm a good salesperson too. But he said, you think you closed me, but I closed you. Well, that just means that he knows that I'm real. That I've codified an experience. Okay? Codified experience. And I want to jump to right over here where I was in a hospital after walking over those hot coals in an insane asylum at the end of that high week. Because my mind was racing so fast and I was running away from home. My parents were worried I was going to hurt myself. And they took me to the doctor and they were like, oh, well, he's having a manic attack. He needs lithium. So they try to get me to take the medicine and I'm running away. And that continued on until they somehow got me signed into a psych ward. I remember my cousin being there making jokes. Okay? That's how it is at that point of confusion. And I came from before to all of a sudden like body cringed up, like in pain, like cringing pain. My muscles contracting, my thoughts going really slow like that. And some crazy fucking people and old people all over the fucking place. Like I'm in fucking one floor of the cuckoo's nest or something. Ain't fuck was one of the worst psych wards around. So anyone ever been like in a high and you come out of it? So imagine coming out of the high, we're all connected, it's all beautiful. I can do anything from the Tony Robbins thing to, I thought I was getting married to my girlfriend, the ATM machine was gonna give me money, it starts getting a little distorted up in there. But you know what? The first person that talked to me after that really knew what was going on was Tony Robbins' team, the doctors, none of them knew what was going on. If I was back then speaking to that self back then, I would have just showed myself then to not believe my mind. And I would have stayed in that the whole time. In 1996 in Joshua Tree Desert, on mushrooms, that happened to me, where I recognized that it's all one. And then it was at the come down too. But if I go back to my hell, I get thrown into this place, I come out like that in that pain. At 18 years old, what do you think I want? Water is what I want. There. What do you think I want if I'm 18? Who would you call out to help you? When you come out of that high, you know you're fine and you're you, but you're thought slow and in this fucking place and they're telling you to take these pills. It's a fucking tough one, I'll tell you that right now. So first you call mom and dad, obviously. Call mom and dad right away. What do they say after a week of trying to shove pills down my throat? Just take the medicine, you'll be fine. I'll talk about being alone. Like in fucking hell, cord cut to my parents. So 18 years old, I'm like, well, in school, if I create a ruckus, I get in trouble, I fuck with a teacher or whatever happens, they call who? They call my parents. So I'll create a ruckus, right? So I see there's a pool table, pool balls, right? I'm of coherent mind. This is proven now, obviously, because I've taken no meds or anything like that for years, and I help end mental disease for others because I stopped believing my mind altogether in 2002. But I'm thrown into this room is because I took this ball and I figured if this glass is this thick, it ain't gonna break from me going like that, is it? I'm smashing it. Can't break. It was like glass this thick. Pretty scary. But I think I'm gonna create a ruckus. They're gonna call mom and dad, right? Do you think that's what happens in a psych ward? No, big guys throw you in a room. And this room was just like fucking linoleum, a bare mattress, no sheet, like mesh metal on the windows and the thing. And then like the most condescending, like imagine being tortured in hell, put it in another hell, and then this condescending voice comes on, if you're a good boy, we'll let you out. But I'm gonna die in there. And in that moment, there was like a whisper or a clarity. You're gonna be okay. But it wasn't me telling it to myself. Looking back, it's interesting. It wasn't me telling it to myself. When it first came, it wasn't me telling it to myself. When I talk about setting an intention, if you tell the truth, you can try to figure out your intention, but when your intention's clear, then you set it. Life arises in intention, right? So I'm inside that place. Anyways, long story short on that part, my dad has to threaten this lawyer to get me out. They were doping the fuck out of me. I was fake taking the pills. He took my grandmother. He said if she came in, she would have had a fucking heart attack if she saw you. My dad let me drive home. My mom said one of the most courageous things my dad's ever done for me. Right out of the hospital, still on whatever fucking shit they're giving me, all and stuff. My dad lets me drive home. My mom, like, she was like, I'm like up curves a little bit, you know, but it was like my dad wanted to show me, you're fine. But it's that whisper, I already knew I was fine. They knew I was okay. And I was in this fetal position, you're gonna be okay. So that was the glimpse of this. But did I know how to live okay at 18? No, I'm right back into trying to prove myself, right? Eventually, I went to college. I always liked acting, but since I was a jock, you know, those were the thespians and the lesbians. You know, you don't do that, right? That's what we like meanly call them. By the way, that's not being. Don't post that. Like, no, really, right? That you're made fun of for the theater, right? And then I'm a frat. I don't want to be in. It's my brother's frat, and I just got out of fighting for my fucking life. And everyone wants to fucking drink. Think I gave a shit about any of that after that? Like, I want to act. I went to New York to study acting. But I had to be rich by 25, like I told you. And then I went to Hollywood, and I raised money, went to my own movie. Then the mushrooms. I couldn't promote me. I'm telling you, the key is that you have nothing to prove anymore, and you don't have to believe you. So now, I'm gonna ask the question, do you have to do anything to be? At first, let your mind answer, okay? That's surface level answer, that's mind's response. Let it be what it is, like a wave coming. Let the answer come out, I want you to say it out loud. The second time I ask you, your mind is still going to answer. But I want you to let that come and go. Okay? So the first time, let it out. Even actually, let me switch that. First time, really go in on it. Even like, see it, okay? Second time, I ask you, let it come and go. All right. So do you have to do anything to be? And really take a look right now. To exist in this moment, just the sense that you are. Do you have to do anything for that? Okay, so that's the mind's answer, and it's welcome. It'll answer again, no matter what. It's got something to say about it. But let that be the surface, right? Let that be a way. Let the mind answer. Let it do its thing. And now your attention, just like when you looked at my shirt, see what color it is? Right, we're doing this eyes open first. Usually we train with eyes closed. So this is unique that I'm doing it this way. I don't know why, right? Because I want you to really get it. Eyes open. Eyes open. Let your core attention, as I ask you again, do you have to do anything to be? Notice the simple sense that you are. Not trying to squeeze that for a peaceful feeling, not trying to get to anything, not trying to change anything, get rid of anything. Your attention is effortless, and that you are being is effortless. Let your attention simply notice that you are, the sense that you are, the experience that you are, and now explore that. Do you have to do anything to be? And as I ask that, let that shift your attention just to notice that you are being. Mind starts talking about it, okay, and just again, notice that you are. Now, being itself. Does being itself have an issue or problem?
No.
So it's already okay. It's already okay. It's already okay. That's you. That's you. Right? You got the dreads, so I'll say that's why Rastas say yes, I to each other. But it's one thing to understand that concept, right? We could read philosophy books, religions. We could have experiences ourselves. We see that. but then we go back to the trance of conditioning, right? So all that's left to do is be trained out of the mind. Okay, so now I'm going to do one more of this visual exercise, and then we're going to play a game about labeling. Okay, so at first, what was let's talk about some root emotions again. What was one of the main emotions that you just don't like or you always battle and fight with? Shame. Shame for you? Or what? Regret? Yeah, is that what does that regret feel like? Like is that regret?
It feels like almost like a burning hole. Like I can't go back and change this.
Yeah.
And I wish I did it differently.
Yeah. See, like the void, or something's off, something's not right, something's wrong, something's not okay. Who here didn't notice that being itself is okay? And please say you didn't if you didn't, because we can explore it then, right? But is there anyone who didn't notice that being is here and that being is okay? Or did that seem like far off and you didn't know what the heck I was even talking about?
I think sometimes in certain situations, it's like you feel like you have to be a certain way in certain environments.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's better to just be yourself because you can relax.
That's right. So what we want to do is train. We can't do this here. Sean like to do it for the whole team. Either you guys are going to pay yourself, we're going to match it, we're going to do something, or I'm going to give a discount, we're going to work it out, we'll see, okay? Because Sean knows if the whole team does this.
Like Phil Jackson. Yeah.
I mean, if the whole team does this. You want to talk about, so Sean was teaching that about active listening. Sean, how much clearer has it been to receive life and be with others on sales calls? Where he used to have anxiety that could bother him, and now what? Because like he was just talking about receiving and being with people, but instead of the idea of that, he learned that in some ways. He's learned that, active listening, he learned these things. But what is it to actually be there with the person as being you?
Oh, it's try so this one doesn't fall apart. I'm an idiot.
Right, or like
you're like something going
yeah,
on, right?
or you're doing like you've done your homework already, and now you're like doing your training, your homework in your head, right? Like when I was an actor, if I worked on my role, I worked on where the character came from before, I walked around like the character in New York, and I was all in, right? But if I got on stage and I thought the next motion I'm supposed to feel, I thought and I didn't just let it go and be that character, right? At that point, you're trained to play ball. If you're actually being yourself with someone, they know. A deep part of them knows you're there with them. And it's different than even trying to create rapport. You're already in rapport. Because guess what? They're being too, aren't they? Whether they realize it or not, are they being too? Solved. Life is actually solved. All right, so the sages, so I saw all this running away from Judaism, right? And like I said, I work with people of all different walks of life, religious, not religious, right? Every gender, creed, race, because what can anyone notice? That they are. Hallelujah. What won't we take care of and solve together? Not to go too biblical, but right, if you know the story of the flood, right? If you know the story of the flood, right? God's going to destroy all the dark to create a new fresh, right? Take it on a thematic level. You could believe it happened, not believe it happened. It's all good, okay? No one's preaching anything to you. But he was told, go build this ark, right? So two things about that. He was told, go build this ark. How long do you think he was given to build it? Anyone know? 120 years. 120 years. I mean, if God wanted shit to happen, it could just like that, right? 120 years. Every bit of it, the sages say, was to give everybody else the opportunity to come back. So the compassion that people realize, like Buddha realized enlightenment compassion, the compassion is the same innate love when you looked at a loved one. But the defense and the vulnerability of separation, that you can be destroyed and fall over the edge, is running everything. So now we're going to do a visualization that will show you this as an experience more than me telling you it. Okay? See, so we have mental framing and then direct experience. Ultimately, what I really show you is fuck everything I say, although I'm pretty good at laying it down, right? If you hang out with me long enough, you'll start vibing in a certain way, not because of me, but because I see you. You know, right? You see me, well, then we're here we are. Fucking what a miracle that is. Right? My mind a couple times could have said, oh, this is taking so long, it's hot in here. My mind could say that shit. I think I said it out loud one time, right? But did I believe that? And did I believe that's why I'm here? No. So I used to do this nonprofit for people. But it's not, it doesn't look like something else. It doesn't look like that you can fly to another planet. I mean, maybe that shit will happen, right? Cool if it does, but that you are will still be. Go to another fucking planet, become a purple creature, and we all have a fucking rock and roll concert right now. If we could do that, right? That way we'd sell fucking shitload into the spiritual market of like this like astral projection shit. If we could like all right now, I mean, come on, we got some good vibes maybe. We'll try it one day. What the fuck? We'll all sit and fucking focus in. But in the meantime, or throw some ayahuasca in there. I don't know. Then we'll probably all travel somewhere. But when you get there, guess where you'll still be? There. And you being will still be. When you start to recognize the solidness of what doesn't come and go, thoughts come and go, emotions come and go, experiences come and go, but that you are never comes and goes. You can fucking bank on that. You just don't yet know fully how to actually recognize that you are that. But that's the self Bob Marley's talking about. Who would like to fucking know that self? And you have. You've already seen the glimpses. You think you know that, but the part that thinks you knows it is never even it either. Okay, so, and by the way, I'm about to blow shit up right now, right? You can call me full of shit in a year, okay? Call me full of shit a year, or you can go like, oh, fuck, okay? Right? You watch, because the movies are coming back. The film I made years ago, almost got the rights coming back to me after 25 years of it not being able to be digitally released. Got my other screenplay ready. Got Brad Lee already supporting my thing there. But more than that, I'm fucking having fun going for it. So because 3.5 years ago, I left my job behind. I left the service industry because I came back to teaching. I started teaching in 2002. I met this enlightenment teacher in 2001. She taught me nothing other than you can pay your attention can shift to noticing that you are. And in that, I thought I met fear. I've been on the journey for a long time, right? Raised at 18, walking on rock clothes and shit. My parents told me all that shit. I was hypnotizing myself at like 12 years old. But the greatest gift in the world was the moment I'm in the shower and I'm fighting in my head in LA about my boss from the night before, right? And I'm having the moment, I'm realizing I'm fucking miserable right now. I'm in the shower. You know, you ever relive moments? What happens when you relive moments? You feel good? You feel the same fucking shit, right? It's like literally reliving it almost. But in that, the shift to that being, I noticed that, oh, they're pointing to not believing my mind at all. And then I just felt the water come over me and it was fucking like game over. But game just starting. So, you know, we'll structure some training. The good thing is that even though I flow this way, it's all pointing to this. But we have some amazing training that I do in axis points, which is really about being trained in 5 axis points and seeing the main patterns that keep your attention stuck in the mind. If you become aware of what the 5 main, all your survival patterns are underneath that. There's not a thought that you can have that won't go into one of these 5 overarching patterns. When you see the nuts and bolts and you become aware, what happens now? Attention stuck in mind. I'm aware of mine. Oh, let the mind be a fucking mind. And as you're shifting to noticing self with eyes open in life, no matter how you feel, where you are, you start to have a discernment of your own self-awareness of where's freedom and where's slavery. And when you recognize that alignment, what would you continue to serve first? The do, have, be, or the be first? When you start to live from that, call it yourself, call it your soul, call it your zone, call it your flow, call it your core, call it your authentic self. When you start to live from that, now what? What would you do? And if it still be here with these guys in this, look at the conversation they're inviting you to. They trusted me enough to just come here and go, right? So did Brad Lee. So when Brad Lee introduced me, right? So after the podcast, mind blown thing, he goes, woke. Remember that story I was saying over there back then? Right? So Brad Lee goes, woke. During Corona with all the weird stuff going on, woke. And I text him, woke, how about awaken? Give me an hour and a half and I'll blow your mind. Right? And he's like, you got to come on the podcast. And then on the podcast, why don't you invest 100 grand in me? You know? And then in front of his first event, he calls me the day he's going to it. All his buddies are coming. He's like, I can't fit you in. He was really like, he was into me then too. Right now, he's met with like thousands of people. He's got 2 new businesses, but he still gets backed, you know. But it's different. I was his new pal for a little bit, right? But he calls me on the way to his own event. Okay, Zimberg, you know, I'm not nervous. I get in front of people all the time. You guys know who the real Brad Lee is? Yeah. Right. So he got Cardone. Well, some people he said you think maybe don't. Right. So he brought Cardone to the first $5 million a month.
They've shown us, we've had videos.
Okay, good. Right. So he has me come. Well, first he calls me on the way to the event. Okay. Give me some coaching. And what did I coach him in? And that's what we're going to do at the end of this. This is a simple G. From noticing being to a receiving. And that is the next gift. I said maybe a second one. It is. I promise you it's a gift. I promise you that from the realization of this in 2002 to living this like non-dual reality. What does it mean non-dual? It means I'm aware of separation. I'm over here, you're over there, right? But I'm not living from that. I mean, look around right now. Is anything not being? Is there anything not being right now? Like really look, is the table isn't it? Now in your head, say some things about the table. It's okay, I don't like it, it's glass, it can break.
See right through it.
That's right. And whatever you say about it, is it still? Still is?
Yeah.
Where's the separation in the isness in this room? Find the separation. Well, the separation appears here, right? Where's the separation in the isness of life?
What dimension you're living in.
Yeah, but even that conversation is already getting into a whole like dimensions, right? Talking about the simplicity of being. You as the gift. Because God, life, all of existence converging now is clearly choosing you, breathing you. So that receiving frequency, again, is a gratitude frequency, because in gratitude, there's no lack, there's no need. So we're going to learn to shift to that a little bit, okay, as an exit. So on these pieces of paper, what I want you to do, and so here's where you got to be like honest with yourself. And by the way, I got to tell you, okay, you know the hell part where you've been and the emotion that you least like, right? Okay, after this, we're going to take a look at that void. We're going to go into this on the mountaintop for a moment, okay? That void, right, is what the animal's running from. And it's avoiding that unknown to maintain this me. And one of the first ways this me handles itself is to label. Remember this Deepak Chopra book I used to love, The Way of the Wizard. A label is like taking like a big knife out and just the initial chop, the initial comment, the initial perception. Right? If I hold this up, you don't have to say cup to yourself. You saw cup right away, right? That's perception too, isn't it? Right? It's already labeled to you. It's already conditioned. Okay? So at the edge of the unknown, it takes vulnerability to be so fucking uncomfortable that you're going to fall over an edge and not run, like turn the lights on in a New York City apartment, the cockroaches all fucking go. That's what the ego body mind wants to do. So the people who are in deep mental dis-ease, and if you've been down in that space, you may know it, right? In depression, or that down. It's because they're at an edge and they're aware of it and they want to escape and run. You ever feel that burning feeling like, let me get the fuck out of here? Or let me keep going hard and get it because it's got to work out, God? That kind of feeling. But so often the running is just into that old conditioning. So when we can be with our emotions, then we can be at the edge of the unknown. And what comes from the unknown? What comes from the unknown? Anybody? What comes from the unknown? Yeah, well, definitely surprises.
Reality.
Reality, creation, right? From the unknown into the known, right? All invention. All art. So if you can really be you and not believe your mind, which means you could operate at the edge of the unknown, would that be comfortable at first?
Absolutely.
You think that'd be comfortable at first?
No, I said it's not comfortable.
That's not comfortable at first. Exactly, right? It's so funny. It's like I'm trusting where this is going, but it's like, okay, so now close your eyes, okay? Better, but you know, here what's funny is Gangaji's people that were all trained with Eli, trained in Erickson hypnotherapy, Sean, and neurolinguistic programming and how to apply Papaji to all that, right? And they would listen to me in satsang and they would just say, you already have this cadence of Erickson hypnotherapy, which are these pattern interrupts and these loops and these, but most loops always close and the whole, right? Because it's not about the attention being paid to where it is, but it's the pointing. So now close your eyes, and we're going to go back to the label. I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to picture yourself on a mountaintop, way high above the clouds. Okay, way high above the clouds. Remember, if you participate, you get the experience. If not, you can't possibly have the same experience. Eyes open, we'll never do it. So you have to like play ball for the experience. So way up on the mountaintop, above the clouds, full bright color. Put yourself there like you're there now. Say you're about 30 feet back from the edge. And already from 30 feet, you can start to feel that kind of intensity of heights. And you start walking closer because you want to see how far down it goes. And you get about 20 feet, but that intensity of like, oh my God, am I safe? Can I keep going? Starts rising up, right? Like the cops behind you, like, you know, like, oh. Then you get almost closer, you look down and there's no end. It's so far. So when you slip, you start falling in, you start falling over. So you turn around, you grab onto some grass, that rips out, you grab onto a boulder, that rips out, now you just keep clawing and clawing, grabbing things, and it pulls out. You're falling in, you're falling over, and you grab onto a branch. You're hanging over the edge. Fucking die if this branch breaks. So squeeze that branch, really. Like see yourself there, squeeze that branch for life. And then the branch breaks. And you fall. And you fall. And you fall. And you're falling. So now open your eyes. What's easier? Holding on or falling? Holding on was easier?
Oh, hey, falling.
Yeah. The mind would never want to admit that falling is easier. Because it thinks it has to hold on. You can let go of your identity of the mind. And guess what happens when you fall over the edge of the unknown? Because the whole me, here's the principle here, okay? Is that as much as the body mind's trying to protect its physical body, right? Like if a lion jumps in the room right now, we're gonna like, why is there a lion here? Probably we're gonna fucking like, right? We're gonna fucking move. We're gonna fucking like, you know, right? Fight or flight. So as much as the body mind is trying to protect its physical self, right? Remember mental illness at the edge of this edge? I'm gonna fall over. The body mind is protecting the me story in your head. You don't want to fucking let go of that shit. It needs you to believe the me because it believes you believing the me creates separation, which it does, which is the function of avoiding the unknown to maintain me. But if you're aware of that and you can be uncomfortable at the edge of that unknown, which would mean like the emotion that you least like, or maybe ones you're not even aware of. Sometimes we hide, so repressed down, we've been told bad emotions, we repress them. Of course, then they're attached to something in the past where that void showed up that we covered up real quick. So our reaction is something's uncomfortable, and then what we want to do is get rid of it. But you can't be whole if you can't embrace every aspect of yourself. It's like a fucking no-brainer. Does that make sense? Until you can actually be with every part of yourself, free from the mind's judgment of it, then you're fucking like label, chop, suey all the fucking time. And so the animal's always going to run from the unknown. Or the functionality of the mind's operating system is always going to move from the fire that generates life, right? From being into doing. So when you become so aware that you're being, which is the beginning, by the way, awakening to your being free from mind is the beginning of a whole new level of reality. That's just kind of like a starting point. Just starting to play there together, you know? Because remember, a fear or limitation has some paradigm held to it. And now remember also, when you are noticing that, without trying to grasp it or get it, that's going to be the battle for a while. Is it this? Is it that? Does it get it? Do I understand it? Do I not? Like all these ways, the mind's like the cockroaches. But as you stabilize in that, and you receive to be yourself, then that receiving and that edge of unknown receiving turns into what? Giving. Self-expression. Being you. That's always been your purpose. You don't have to find your purpose. But if you gift yourself the recognition of that and free yourself from mental slavery, then it's going to get so delicious to fucking go for it. And even better, to go for it together. You're not your labels. So let's take a look. I want you to write down, being vulnerable at the edge of the unknown means explore and just tell the truth, you know? So I want you to write down, each one gets a separate word on it, okay? So write it so it's legible, okay? We're going to be wearing these in a minute. Right? So I want you to write down, first start with a negative. Don't be, I don't have any negative thoughts, I've worked on myself and beyond everything. Come on, something your mind says to yourself negative, a label about you.
One word?
Yeah, like one or two words, like I'm lazy, you're a piece of shit, what's the matter with you, or anything negative that your mind says about you. Negative label. What you can think of, what are other things that other people think about you negatively, and have you believed that perhaps about yourself once, right? So just write down what that is, that label. You can do it, but you just got to let yourself go beyond, and just what happens here. If you're in a safe space to expose any emotion, is anyone here going to judge anyone for having any emotions? You going to judge her for feeling a certain way?
Yes.
All right, well then keep it to yourself.
He's being honest.
Right? Okay, so write down one label that's a negative label about yourself. So no one here can write a negative label, or everyone's that scared to write something negative about yourself?
Waiting for a pen.
Have you ever? Oh, you need a
Waiting
pen.
for my pen.
Okay. Guys, have you ever been on an interview where what are your greatest weakness, and you got to tell them what it is, but you don't really want to tell them?
Is it like what you think your weaknesses or what you think?
No, what your mind sometimes says about you, or what you sometimes believe, but ultimately maybe you're at a point where you don't really quite believe, but that's still what you battle. Just something negative your mind says about you. Your mind's never said anything negative about you to yourself?
Oh, no.
Shit, my mind says that shit all the time.
I don't think we're putting it on.
Oh, not putting it for
No, not quite, but that's an interesting game. We can explore that one day. All right, next page. Let's go. Next page, write a positive comment about yourself, a positive label. I'm positive, I'm this, I'm that. I don't have to be like that, I don't have to be like me. So a positive label about yourself, right? So now write another negative one, another negative label. And if you can't think of one that you think, you can come up with one that other people think of you, okay? All right, listen, for now, if you can't come up with a negative label yourself, then come up with one that other people think of you. But you should be able to come up with enough for yourself. Come on. Things that your mind says. Can't do it. I don't want to do it. Scared. I suck. You're the worst. Piece of shit. Now write down the positive. Well, we're not necessarily doing negative. If you haven't noticed yet, we'll go where we go. But yeah, maybe. Right? Now write down another positive. Right? This me all of a sudden goes special. Good. Special good. Sometimes the me goes special what? Special bad. But the first way your mind pulls your attention into that label is to believe the initial label or any label of yourself. It doesn't care if you think you're the best or if you think you're the worst. One's inflated, one's deflated. Others will try to teach you to change the way you're feeling to get over there, but actually when you recognize that you're not those feelings, then those can come and go. When you recognize you're not a label, then you can recognize the label comes and goes. You can recognize that the label may be true or not true, right? This was a glass. It's an agreement that it's true right now, right? But on another level, it's what? Waves and particles. Molecules and atoms, right? Right? Even back to what you're saying about perception, Sean. Two people see the same thing. Okay, so now write another negative one. You already put them on there. I love it. So go back and forth. Fill out at least 5 of them. Right? Yeah, we'll go positive. Yeah, something like when you do good, what does your mind say to you? Nothing wrong with, there's nothing wrong with either of these. If you choose to believe your mind, which one would you choose to believe? The positive ones. When the bulldozer takes away the 90% regurgitated thought and the 70-80% negative, what's left again? Clarity in the center. Clarity leads to more clarity, and some 2 to 20% positive, good, pretty good thoughts. So which voice to listen to, what's alignment, what's my intuition? It just becomes obvious. And when it's not obvious, guess what you wait for? You ever forget a song and you get frustrated about it, and you get tense about it, and you try to remember it, you can't, because you were trying to impress someone, who knows what, and then it pops in your head after. Clarity leads to clarity.
And you also let go.
Exactly, because you let go, right? But at the edge of the unknown, does the body-mind want to let go? Because as much as it's protecting its physical self, it's protecting that me. So its job is to keep telling you the me. And any experience you have, it will right away do what to it? Label it, right? Oh, plant, safe, no sharp points on it. I usually say if it's a rose, right? Remember that time you hit a thorn? Flower, rose, already told you from when? Maybe if you actually smell the roses, haha, right? Smell the roses? If you actually smell it. If you didn't actually really go in for that moment, it's really just, you got a whiff and then it was just your memory that it smelled, right? On to the next. Do first. And by the whatever narrative is going on in the world, as long as you're in your narrative, sorry, you're not free. The good thing is, it's time to get trained out of the mind. We're upgrading the evolution of being human beings, which is A, to no longer have to believe your mind anymore, but to be able to use your mind instead of using you, and to be able to actually be with your emotions, almost like a guiding system after a while, like your own internal GPS, and be yourself and trust yourself. Okay, great. So let's stand up for a moment. Okay, stand up for a moment, and each of us is gonna let's do. We're gonna do it 2 ways, but it's hard to read your own. But go ahead, read your own first.
Messy.
Yeah.
Too laid back.
Yeah.
Overconfident.
Everyone, if you could do me a favor, if you pay attention, hey, if you pay attention, you'll get more out of this. Even though I know it's late, but pay me $50K, pay me $50,000. If you hear them say what their mind says, you may go, oh yeah, my mind says that shit too. All right.
All right, I got caring, intelligent, too laid back, overly confident, and messy.
Okay, great. And yours?
You got messy. I've got stupid. Not good enough. Not emotional. Capable and kind.
Capable of anything. All right, and kind. Great. You?
So I was thinking of the 5th one. I have a few in mind, but
It's all right. It's all good.
I'm an amazing people person. My ethic is not good enough right now. So, my attention and focus needs improvement. I'm amazing at listening and learning.
Awesome. Put those back on you if you would.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so let's do a few over here. Who wants to share the mind?
I can go.
The labels.
So the first one would be overly critical. The first one, and
Of others or yourself?
of myself. I like to be positive with other people, lift their spirit. And then the third one is inconsistent.
Okay, so you're inconsistent.
Right.
You like to be positive.
Right. Inconsistent.
Yeah.
And the fourth one is positive.
Okay.
And the last one is procrastinating.
Procrastinator. Okay. Great. Great. So who else over here in this group? Yeah.
So mine, gain confidence, don't like to seek help, not good enough, work really hard, and satisfied by helping others.
Awesome. So put those labels on you if you would, right? So now I want you just to break into two for a minute, and I want you to read the other person's. Okay? I want you to read the other person's to them. Okay? If you haven't read your own, though, do that first. If you didn't do it out loud in the group, read your own first until you both read it up for first, and then read the other person's to them. All right? And we'll just like take 5-6 minutes to do that. So let's do it quick, because then we can get back to talking about it.
I know my head.
That's not the, actually, I'm sorry. I don't mean quick. I mean, let's start, but take your time. See what it feels like. Wait, listen. You know, listen, I used to do this for years, okay? It's been a while since I've done exercise live with people. Everything's been Zoom for like fucking 6-8 years. Listen, when you're doing this, take the time to really, when they read yours, take the time to really believe it. Does everyone get me? When they say that label positive or negative, you hear me? When they say the label positive or negative, take the time to really believe it. When they point that out of you, like say to yourself that you are that. And then see, how does that feel? Okay? All right? Cool. And then don't over-explain. Let's not, we'll do that after, right? I just want someone else to read the labels to you and you to hear them. Believe them yourself, okay? After you've read them to yourself.
I think that's probably the most common one you all have.
Kind of like.
I said it. I'm sure a lot of work for it. One thing
So you are smart, right? You're not good enough. You are no emotion. You're blank. You're not smart enough. You're kind. You're capable of anything, right? Is all that you? Does all that capture you? Does that capture who you are? Your essence? Does that capture you?
No, it's just the things that I meditate on.
Right, but does it capture you though?
No.
That you are. Does that capture that you are?
No.
If you filled up a board with all the things you think about yourself, would all that be you?
No.
There's no label of self or anything else that is anything other than an actual label.
Yes.
A thought. Literally a thought.
And there you go. Yeah, that will come and go. Thank you.
All right. Everyone get to experience that yet? Yeah? 2002 to 2006, I was traveling all over the nation leading these 2-day things. I haven't done something like this in so long, because it's been so long since in person, you know? I started before Corona online when I came back to this stuff, you know? All right. So that's great. You guys, I already shared a little bit with you. So guys, come on in over here if you can. Come on, lead. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. There's a fear they literally pay attention right now, but you don't be strict, but also like they can't go off somewhere else. Both. Yeah. All right, cool. Awesome. First of all, thanks for playing along. Thanks for being, I am the embodiment of what you think ADD or ADHD looks like. Right? But if you notice by the end, I'll close every single loop that I open. Does a good sales. When you let yourself groove, do you do that pretty naturally too? Even if you lost it, but you didn't get it right. Like today, you're pointing out about your brother. In the past, you would have like freaked out about they're in the water instead of that. But instead, it was like, oh, this is where this is going. It's good to be here. So when you're in that neighborhood, if you actually can like notice that you are, it'll take a training to really live that. But imagine walking in those neighborhoods, like loving that you exist. And then maybe someday you have something bad happen in life. So the other way is to try to overcome that emotion. The realer way would end up being what? Yeah, receive it and still be with the person at the door with that. Not trying to hide it. And also not indulging it, telling them all about what's so bad in your day. Because if you're not believing your mind, do you have to indulge a conversation in reaction to the emotion? But you can be next to that fire, can't you? Without fucking burning. That's true mastery. And that's the root where all creation. Because that fire, bigger than me, bigger than you, bigger than all of us, running everything. So when you become conscious of you being, then you become conscious of the moving from being into doing. But since you're not in the mind in the future that'll never come, and you're not stuck from the past running your shit, that receiving, again, becomes what? That receiving becomes what? What's the opposite of receiving? Giving. Self-expression. Your life is art. Like art comes from nothing to something. Okay, so talk to you guys a bit. What other group? You guys are together? All right. So what was the experience of doing this, of being read these different emotions? So you're what? Complacent, incapable, creative. You're broken, not good enough. And you're?
I'm secret.
Okay. So what did you experience? What did you notice in this and what we're looking at here?
In the reading or the?
No, in both. Yeah, in this experience, when she was reading those to you and you were believing them, what was it like?
Well, it's a different level of understanding the other person. You know, like, because you could talk to someone. And
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
It's okay. If I tell you you're broken and you believe in your head right now that you're broken, believe right now that you're broken.
Okay.
What's that feel like?
Like a crippling feeling.
There you go. Now that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you believe you're incapable, believe it.
I would
Like
say
buy into it.
equally crippling, just a different way.
Exactly. Yeah. So if are the creative is creative, how does that make you feel? Creative. You
Awesome.
believe that fully. Makes you feel awesome, right? So, that's why people are trying to do mindset, because you can shift it. But surrender first is what's missing in law of attraction, by the way, manifestation. Surrender is noticing I am first, being first, before any dogma or thought. Your direct experience of being. So these labels, right? Do these capture you?
No.
Does it capture your essence? Does it capture all that you are? Does anyone here, does these labels capture who you are? I mean, they're facets of you, right? Perhaps, right? Or some of them are just conditioned beliefs that maybe have nothing to do with you anymore. Transformation happens quick when you can see where you let yourself burn and then consciously burn and then let go of the story about the problem about you. So if you wrote down every label you could imagine of yourself, like on a freaking board, every label you could imagine of yourself, the pro, the con, the good, all of it, would that capture you still?
No, because it's temporary. Because these are all like things that like you think about yourself because of situations. So it's situational. So you can change it by being and observing.
That's right. And even more so, if you just don't believe it, you don't even have to stay observing it. But first we want to start to observe it by seeing what is the mind, how does it keep our attention stuck there. When we can actually see what are the main operating systems that keeps attention stuck there, then we can let the whole labeling paradigm play out. In other words, your mind's not going to stop labeling. So people can learn about labeling, and I've seen this in books. They can learn about labeling, and they can learn the Tao Patriarchs. There's like the Sin Ming, the Book of Nothing. It says prefer nothing for nor against. I forget if I was on LSD then or not, but the point is, it says have no preferences for nor against. And in that moment, what for a moment, just for a moment right now, okay? Imagine if you have no preferences for nor against. Forget what your mind says next to you, like, oh, that would suck, but just for a moment, imagine no preferences for a moment. What's here? You are. Now the mind, again, what's the mind going to think about being that you are? So what? So what? Bap, right back in the mind. Because it doesn't want to be on the fucking edge. Because it believes, as much as protecting the physical body, it has to protect the story of me. Becoming more aware is being not just conscious of your patterns or retooling them, because that could get exhausting, but yet refinement will happen in that from clarity. The parts of yourself that, you go through an ebb and flow, like I'm in a little bit like ebb with the food thing, but like I'm hitting the plate where it's starting to feel clunky. So like, I know I'm going to hit like a next level of health, and I've done that cycle, and now that cycle's wearing thin, but instead of judging myself through it, I'm riding through it, right? I'm starting to set up an MMA guy and different ways of enjoying life and working out, right? Same with my business right now. Like I'm taking sales calls and this and that, but like I'm already at like $500,000, $1 million raised with a staff because I've worked on this my whole life, right? So I'm all in. So if you're all in and being you, think about it. Anything anyone thinks about you, okay? People think something about you, one of those labels. Now you may have an agreement in that moment that's true about you. And then you write down in your list of things you got to work on about yourself to fix yourself. And it doesn't mean there's not a refinement and a noticing, okay? But if you have to move to fix yourself, what's the undercurrent of that saying about you? What's the there's the wave and then there's the undertow. Right. If you believe something's wrong with you, that you have to fix yourself, the undertow of that is telling you something's wrong with you.
You're not okay.
The whole premise of that kind of mind development ultimately is what? Chasing your own tail. Let that go, guys. That's survival paradigm. And I know the mind would say, yeah, but I got to pay my bills. I got to take care of my kids. I get that. Okay, that's part of the animal, right? But the more you come to the edge and there's like a trust, even though everything wants to like pull you into the paradigm that it's not going to be okay tomorrow, or they got to figure it out, or you didn't do enough, I got to fix this. And you actually start to like show up, noticing you. You'll deepen in that. You'll get the gift of being you. And then you'll like everything changes, nothing changes idea. But the transformation will happen because you know what burns in the fire? Fucking everything. So the past trauma and drama that's attached to those emotions that we had to run from. Is everyone getting me? Right? My daughter, she had a year out of school because her mother didn't want a mask on. Okay, I have two daughters. One's my daughter, one's my stepdaughter. So my daughter goes to her mom sometimes. She didn't want her at school with the masks. The other daughter went to school, had a social life. I didn't agree. I wanted my daughter there. We don't have to get into the politics of what you guys think or not. We'll talk about it another time, right? But the point is, okay, I wasn't so great about the mask being on phase 2, and I'm not going to get in another battle with my ex over it. Okay, so be that. But like, let's face it. I'm older. I'm 53. Okay, but if I listened to my teacher and I had the option to open up another tab and watch YouTube, like fucking no brainer on that one. Let alone what else God knows she got to or could see. But so after already feeling like she's lost from social, people don't like her, we get her to go to camp when things get more normal, and she goes to camp. They don't allow a mask. The mother let her go there. Okay. No, I think they did, but the mother finally was okay with it. Whatever. She goes there. The young kids are there. She's not most athletic, but the young kids are there. They're doing dance. They're so sweet to her. She's loving it. She's with people again. So she's noticing her what? Herself. And then she's in the bathroom, and these counselors don't realize she's in there. And that Isabella, she's annoying. She can't do cartwheels. Of course, as a father, I called them up like, what the fuck? And it's supposed to be a safe environment for a child, right? But how angry am I going to get about it? But what am I really seeing? Fear of unworthiness. Avoiding the unknown to maintain me. That'll create a survival strategy for her, right? Doubting herself, looking for fulfillment and outer, or a sense of importance by others. So that I am worthy. The fear of being unworthy puts us in the either debate of whether we're unworthy. Some people have it that way. It could suck, but the other people more worthy, but special me. Look at the positive labels. The mind needs your attention to believe that you're you. I'm me. I'm somebody. I'm me. I'm me. I'm me. Hey, I'm me. Look at me. Right? So originally I recognized I was okay, but I went right back into proving I'm okay. I better be a billionaire by the time I'm 25. I left college to be an actor. What the fuck am I doing? I'm chasing summer storage businesses. I was doing good. Went to the University of Pennsylvania, left with $14,000 in my fanny pack, back onto the train to New York to be an actor. Lied to my teacher to get back in class. Because you're not allowed to miss it. It was a high-profile class, right? Said, fuck it, I'm not going to audition anymore. I'm going to raise money, make a movie, right? So I lived that, like, tenacity, right? 27 years old. How many people make a film? They want to make a film in life. How many people think you want to make a film? How many people actually make them, right? Went to Hollywood, get signed by agents, did all that. but it was all proving something and run by that thing that was still trying to get to the there. There's here. And so you trust your heart's desire. On one end, desire, we had to have survived, so desire led you through good and bad, right? Led you through good and bad. In the battle of that, the character of you. Trusting yourself is found within the integrity within yourself to yourself. And it's not in the battle and the figuring out and making your wrong conversation in your mind to figure out how to make yourself better. Better is another word for hell in that conversation. Because your grass always has to be greener as opposed to blossoming from here. So the paradox is this: the purpose of your life is you now. And it always has been. But as you recognize that you being is your purpose, literally fucking playing your role as you. It's it. That's it. When you recognize that, guess what happens? You become more purposeful. It's the paradox. You didn't try to do it, but you become more meaningful because you're aligned. You're breathing into, dare I say, heaven on earth. You're breathing into, the sages of the Old Testament say that the garden is here. There's veils veiling that. You know your veils. You try to change them all and fix them all. Stop believing them. And then, yes, there will still be the rubber meets the road. It's not veg out, it's take responsibility. Her responsibility a few times in some places in that, I agree with the way it was being talked about. But to take responsibility for yourself is to take responsibility for all of it. So this goes back to, so check it out. There's no label that can touch who you are, but the mind won't stop labeling. So as long as you autopilot believe labels, you're always going to be in this separation survival paradigm. Tall, small, good, bad, right, left. I got to get this. It's always going to be based on, it's like being on the seesaw. You run up one side and get to the top. But when you're yourself, the seesaw can go up and down. And it will. Okay? The ignorance, right, which is the root word to ignore, the ignorance of this idea that you'll always be blissed out. You'll always be happy. It'll always be perfect. It already is perfect. That all comes and goes. And the more you can recognize that, the more free you are from the story, the more you can be in life. The more you recognize who you already are is life. The more you can live life. And that is the whole point of life. Solved. You guys are awesome, man. Honestly, please, everyone, write down your name and number here, and I'll reach out to you, and we'll see how we talk about. But I really want to somehow find a way to talk to each of you. Okay, all right? At least 15 minutes to get a chance. All right.
When we find out the three things.
Oh yeah, sorry. Well, Sean started clapping, so we had it. Okay, so here's the three things. That's good though. So here's the point. Okay, so look at that. That's the high, right? The high of the pinnacle, in a way you could say. But you can't do getting to that pinnacle. The pinnacle would be like to fully be digital, fully be you, and just live that, right? But you can't get to it either. Because you're already there. So then there's a training of releasing from mind to shifting to being identified and being aware of being in the doing and emotions. I got that down in spades. Better than probably anyone else in the world. Definitely up there, right? And Sean's like a big biohacker. Sean, what's the best thing you say you've ever did in your life?
Oh, it's access points, yeah.
It's access points. All right? So that guy at the end closed you on Tony Robbins, but I heard Lance say earlier, the live event would be great, but you're probably better off doing access points, thinking one person was closer in the genre to it. There's no genre, right? There's no genre. The next trainings of it will be even less. So I have a spiritual funnel. I'll have a depression funnel. I'll have a nurse funnel. First responders, they're stressing like a motherfucker, right? So all that sales and marketing we've written to them. And they'll learn the exact same, they learn, same thing, right? And what happens to everyone that goes through the process? They have quantum transformations. Because it's not linear. We are actually here together. We are actually in this together already. So in that way, I'm honored to know you or meet you. right? But if there's anyone better that can help you know your potential, so awaken to live your potential now, not the idea of a later potential. And then you see how, well, Lance was saying how you can still sit down in now and plan the vision. You can still participate fully in it. But you're not hooked in battling.
You're not run by it.
Not run by it. And that takes a refinement, right? But I'm telling you, quantum leaps too. The meeting emotional and the running and the thing. But like I totally talked to people 2 years after, what percentage of the day are you stuck in the mind? What percentage of the day are you aware of this connectivity that some of you may have just tasted or not, where you see you did in an orgasm, you saw you did in nature? It's there. It's got to be here. Come on, it's got to be. If not, it's not accessible. If not, it has a condition. There's something you have to do to be free and be you and be life to be really what it is. So there's an unlearning, there's a shifting that you do. And in 8 weeks, that'll happen for anyone who steps into that. It'll happen at some point, sometime. Either the whole world's gonna burn down and we burn to some shit, and then it happens, or more light shined on the dark, and it happens that way. Second coming, first coming, turning the fourth wheel, whatever, I don't know. Everyone's got a different idea of Aquarian age, but there seems to be something fucking up, right? I say take what's up in the world and take it as a reflection of you. We don't know what's next. And instead of letting fear run your life, finally start to be able to be yourself in the face of that fear. It will never go away either. Just like the labels will never go away, the fear will never go away. But what does any great athlete say? In the face of that fear, we can go through it, or we can just courageously step right into it, right? Like back off, all devils, all demons. Fuck with me and I'll rip the fucking shit out of you. But I don't need to do that either, because I'll hug you. But nothing bad fucking touched me and my family. Like, I'm clear on that now. So I'm living that reality. So remember talking about yesterday about certainty and belief? I'm so clear on what I'm here for that I believe it, and now it's happening. That's what they call the law of attraction. So it all leads to flow, guys. Because we're meant to have a great time and enjoy life. And yeah, we had to go through the suffering to come to that. And I don't know how much longer that suffering will be, right? The story of the ark was 120 years. But now is now, right? The story of the garden, it could have just been revealed right away. We're all in the garden, but we are. But we had to transcend that war, that sadness, to know the honey so that we could leave it behind, like a comet burning, let it burn off. And once you've been in that room, you've been in that hell like I was, do you need to go back into that room? Do you need to go back into that label about yourself? You don't know how to not, but do you need to be back in that label and that feeling of yourself? You don't. You've been there already. Yeah, you can let it come, exactly. Good NLP, good NLP there. NLP. See, imagine how we'll create, Sean. Imagine how we'll create, right? Right? So in sales, if you're being you and you're enjoying that you're being there and you believe that what you're selling is the best, and if you don't think it's the best, go research other ones and then find out what is the best of yours. But if you believe in what you're selling, you know it's helping the world and you know it's helping them, and you can allow yourself to be yourself with other human beings and enjoy it, nothing gonna break my stride, nobody gonna slow me down. Uh-oh, I got to keep on moving. So, no, we got to finish it here. I'm sorry. Mindset. Just so you know, I would probably charge $10,000 a person for this right now, where I'm headed right now, right? And shortly to be in a small setting with me, right? If I did this on a thing, I'll retreat myself with all this other stuff you guys did, and then me, I'd probably put out there for 10 people at 10,000, right? Okay. So the three things. Sorry. Okay. Because I got to tell you, because when I say spoon feeding you, you see where I always want to go. I always want to help you snap out of it, right? But that's why Access Points has structure, and it's not what I teach you. It's in your own life. Each Access Point creates that shift that I was pointing to. So you in your life for yourself are starting to notice, be able to shift your attention to that. So throughout the day, no matter what's happening, you're starting to notice that. You're starting to notice that it's there. You're starting to notice what it is and it isn't. That it's not just about feeling one way or not one way. You start to notice that stillness, that center is always there. And so then it becomes an obvious choice. Why would you fucking choose the mind shit than that? So it becomes obvious. And then you start to shift from 51% more there to here. And then you're welcomed. Okay, so that's why I don't go mindset often, because mindset still is trying to what? Change that thought to the other thought. But here's the way you start. And eventually, and I got to finish with simple G, I promised it, so got to do it. So if it's long for you, be tortured and hate me, it's okay. I don't give a shit. I'm joking, you know what I'm saying? Right? But I'm about to give you what in Brad's program they're going to pay $397 for, and everyone pays $3,000 for, right? Okay, so as if the value is money, the value is yourself. Okay, so the 3 mindset levels of it, okay? To conclude this. The 3 mindset levels. 1 is start to become aware of every time the mind says something should be different than it is. Okay, so you should write this down, because you'll remember it kind of, but I would like, if you're one of those people that likes to study something, then you can hone in on it and do it. I would hone in and undo this. With access points, that's pretty much what you're doing. You're shifting, noticing the pattern, but you're honing in on each week so you come out of your mind. And then you start to do a freedom with emotion process where you're with your emotions, and then it gets really clear. Okay, so every time the mind says something should be a different way, it should be this way. It shouldn't be that way. They shouldn't be doing that. I shouldn't have done that. I should do this. Any should or shouldn't. Any should or shouldn't. And any complaint. Now, you've probably heard somebody talk about, motivational people talk about complaining, right? And complaint. Don't try to stop complaining. Don't try to stop the mind from saying should and shouldn'ts. Just become aware of when it does that. And when it does that, for a moment, again, I can't believe I'm telling people words to say to themselves, Sean. You know what I'm saying, right? Because do I let that go on in access points really? Tell yourself these words for like a day or two. And you're learning an access point, like am I would be a way to shift to noticing being. Am I? Okay, that simple B I was telling you. Am I? Like I was asking you to do anything to be. But if you start asking, am I? You can go with the mind answer, or you can just start to notice that you are. Okay, so that completes simple B a little bit, at least a touch on the training, okay? You're noticing that you are. Okay, so should, shouldn't, and complaint. When you're aware of that, for a moment, literally say to yourself, take a look, what if this is happening for me? What if this is happening for me? And even if it feels like, fuck that, no way this is happening for me, I dare you to find a reason perhaps that it is. Even if it's not plausible. Just to shift perspective for a moment, right? It's like to have this pause, step out of the should, shouldn't, and complaint, and just see it for what it is, and at least to be willing to take a look, what if it's happening with me, for me? Now, if you can't get to this happening for you, because you're fuck this, I hate this, life sucks, whatever the fuck it is, okay? I must have liked that I've hurt my toe, okay? Then at least see that it's happening with you, right? The conversation we had earlier, this whole existence in this moment's this moment, right? So it's definitely happening with you, right? And then seeing that, do you have to believe it's happening against you? So that's a mindset way to start shifting. What if it's happening for me? And you can see a possibility of that. What if it's happening for me? You can see a possibility of that. Every time there's a should or shouldn't. Now, should and shouldn'ts aren't bad, nor is complaining. You can see it for what it is, and then you don't have to follow it. And you'll start recognizing. But here's the end of it. You lucky dogs. Fuck, I gotta tell you, I love being Zimberg. Right? Only 3.5 years did I come back to teaching, full out just being myself even more. Right? I'm about to make another fucking movie. I'm about to freak shit out right now, but by just being myself, you know? But so can you. The icon of you, the icon of you. There is no other you. There's no other you. So it's one thing to have the mindset of that, and you can practice that, I promise you, right? If you practice noticing should, shouldn't, complaint, and you give yourself the space to at least consider it's happening for you, right? Then you're not right in that battle. You'll start to see that more. But here's where we really want to go, okay? Which is why I don't teach that, but I just did. And I still do on Clubhouse and shit sometimes, okay? You got to get a spoonful of sugar that helps medicine go down. So now we're going to train with eyes closed. Okay, so everyone close your eyes for a moment. This is more the way we train access points. Okay, and now we're going to do what we did before. When I asked the first question, okay, and don't worry, you guys, you can see a recording of this, and I'll do this again. So, okay, so when I ask the first question again, let the mind answer. That's the mind. Mind always needs to know, doesn't it? To avoid the unknowns. It's gonna have an answer. So say the answer out loud first. The second time, the mind's still going to answer. Let that float on top. Not trying to get rid of it. Let it keep talking. If it takes all your attention, okay, and then just again, let your attention notice what I'm pointing to. Here it's going to be breath. Now, I'm not asking you to do a breathing exercise. Those are helpful and those are great, as you guys saw, right? And they have their time and place. But I'm asking you just to simply notice right now. Notice your breath. Notice the inhale. Notice the exhale. Just like with my attention, when you looked at my shirt, shifted your attention, let your inner tension, not try to feel better, not try to get rid of anything, just simply notice the breath happening. And so now I'm going to ask you a question. Answer out loud first. Do you have to do anything to breathe?
No.
Great. And that's the mind's answer, and it's welcome. We're not thought Nazis here. So the mind's going to answer again. But so we're not trying to stop at that, but I just want you to let your attention notice, right? So effortless to let your attention notice breath is happening on its own. Let your attention just notice the breath. As I ask you again to shift and notice, do you have to do anything to breathe? So let the mind's answer come and go. So if you're saying no in your head, just let that come and go and continue to let your attention notice the direct experience. A little easier now as you just drop into your chest area. After the exhale, notice, does the inhale return? If your mind can say yes or no, let that go. And now again, notice, the exhale goes out, does the inhale return? Notice that receiving. You may feel the air in your nostrils or mouth. You may feel it in the back of your throat. You may feel the chest rise. And the air goes out again, right? Just happening on its own. You're being breathed. And then the body pulls in the air, right? And there's a receiving, isn't there? Let your attention just rest in that. Notice that receiving frequency every time it returns. Notice that receiving. So in that receiving, and anyone can answer out loud or as many people, is there a problem in that space right there? In that receiving space? You may notice in there, if you continue, keep your eyes closed. Just doesn't matter what I'm saying, what your mind's saying. Just notice that the receiving keeps coming back. Just let yourself melt into that receiving. Is there a problem in that space? See, there's already a built-in gratitude. That's simple G, simple gratitude. Instead of telling yourself to be grateful for something, which does work, it's mindset, right? The more your attention can notice that receiving, again, receiving moves into what? Giving. And if you're not running from anything and it's all welcome and received, then you're receiving now. You're receiving yourself. You're receiving life. You can face any of it, can't you? You can show up for all of it, can't you? For yourself, for the people that you love, for the world, can't you? Do you have to go to war? If you had to, right? But do you have to go to war? You can be a peaceful warrior, can't you? So it's about self-mastery now. And it's not as hard as trying to learn all that shit. And I don't mean shit in a bad way. You know what I'm saying? Okay? It all has its time and place. It all works in places. Okay? In fact, what clicks even more will click more from your own being. All right? So those are the three things. Mindset, but then eventually, as you train out of your mind, you're living in that it's happening for you. Or definitely with you. Because isn't it? Yes. All right. Love you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.